Hi everyone, welcome to Three Coaches, One Topic. My name is Donna Burfield and I am the founder of Joy and Purpose Coaching and Coaches Supporting Coaches. And tonight I am joined with Wendy and Jihan, and they are part of the CSE Certified Coaches Group and Coaches Supporting Coaches Group. And the purpose of this episode is for us to share our thoughts and personal experiences and our coaching tools around a specific topic, which will become very clear soon when I reveal the wheel and the topic that we're going to discuss. So going forward, I would love and invite Wendy and Jihan to let everybody know a little bit about yourself and your coaching business. And I'll throw it over to Wendy first.
Okay, thank you, Donna. So my name's Wendy Shaw. I am an M-brainer, a trainer and a coach. I specialise in NLP and M-braining. So I'm really invested in helping coaches be awesome coaches. I do one-on-one coaching as well. I don't niche because I think as a trainer, I need to have examples across many different areas. So I'm interested to see who is attracted to work with me. And yeah, I'm very into flexibility and going with the flow.
Yes, you are. And Jihan, this is your second time.
This is my second
know a bit about you. Yes.
Okay, so my name is Jihan Gatti. I'm a ICF-PCC certified coach, and I have Expand Coach. That's a practice for leaders and teams. So Wendy said to create awesome coaches, I said to create awesome leaders. So for them really to perform today and be ready for tomorrow. And we were talking about before this, my thing is really resilience and how to manage change so that we can really be well in terms of our performance, our relationship, and our well-being. Voila, voila.
Voila. Well, this is what I love about this group is the fact that there's so many of us that are so diverse. We've got, different ages, different cultural backgrounds and different niches. And yet we all find that common ground. I love working with parents and children, after 26 years in education. And where I was with those children from kindergarten to secondary, it still aligns with if you're working in corporate. Believe you still use the same skills. Trust me. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen and let's see what topic we're talking about today. So here we go. Oh, good. Perfect. Yes. Excellent. And I've just removed it when I didn't need to. I'm learning. Technology is not always my friend. Okay, so purpose. What is your definition of purpose? And just please jump in. This is,
I'd say for me, purpose is identifying what you're best at and what you're here to do. I'd say from my perspective, I started my career as a chef, and I realize now, looking back on my lifetime, that I was not put on this planet to help people through feeding them. I was put on this planet to help people become better people and to connect internally and externally. So I feel that is my purpose. It took me quite a long time to get there, but purpose for me is being aligned with what you love doing and also why you're here. So it's bigger than you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Sheehan.
Just when Wendy was saying she was a chef, and then she realized that that's not her purpose, feeding people. I'm like, but the way I see what she's doing is she's still feeding them, but just differently. So that's just an interesting point to see, because for me, and I'll be very honest with it. Initially, when I hear the word purpose, a part of me is like, no, not again. It's just that there was such a buzz, and there may still into finding your purpose and what is my purpose. And even I see it, even like for me personally, is this my purpose being in corporate? Was it my purpose to work in oil and gas? Was it my purpose to, and it can be very heavy in terms of I still need to find my purpose. So we're still in that movement. So for me, I see it, purpose is whatever we're doing that brings joy in our heart. And that's it. I think our body and our emotions are our compass on whether we are delivering our purpose or not. And for me, it can also change. Maybe the core of it really is the same. Am I going to discover it personally in my lifetime? I don't know. And at some point of time, that bothered me. Like, what's going on with me? Like, everyone is looking for their purpose and they're finding their purpose, and I don't know. But then I realized I might not find it, or I might know what is it specifically. And that's okay. As long as whatever I'm doing is aligned and brings joy to my heart. Someone told me that when you have joy in your heart, it means that you are delivering your soul purpose. So that's the indicator for me.
Oh, nice. No, I love the fact that you're talking about the joy part and aligning again with your values. And, you know, quite rightly, our purpose and our values should change as we grow, as we experience new situations and our dynamics change. You know, if we're single and then we have a husband, or we have children, or we're then having to stay home and look after our elderly parents, you know, our joy and our purpose and our values do take on a different, deeper meaning. For me, I think for me, what triggers is I need to have purpose in my life, and I see it more as I need to have that understanding of why I'm here and why am I getting up each day. So whilst my children were here, you know, my children were my purpose. Since they've gone, you guys are my purpose. No, and my clients. But it's taken on a different, you know, a different look and feel. And you know, I'm good with that. So was there a time in your life where you felt that there was no purpose, and how did that affect you?
I'm happy to jump in first. I can see that Jihan's thinking about what she's going to say. For me, I just shared that I started my career as a chef. And I actually went through 2 years, I call them my horizontal years, because I damaged my spine. So all I could do was lie down and see the chiropractor and slowly get back on my feet. But I couldn't cook anymore. So those 2 years, I had no purpose. And, you know, I couldn't do what I trained to do. I couldn't live on my own. I ended up living with my grandmother down in Cornwall, with another cousin as well. So I was surrounded by family, and I was just this horizontal thing that, you know, I couldn't, the family lives sort of overlooking a beach. My cousins would be water skiing and jet skiing, and I could see them all having this amazing time, and I could do nothing. So having absolutely zero purpose and being in this big black hole was the turning point. You know, I look back on it now, and that was the trigger to redirect my career. But at the time, having no purpose is bleak. Yeah, very bleak.
But can I just pick up on something that you just said? So in your mind, you had no purpose. So is it a mindset? Is it a case of you could have nothing? You could have no job prospects. You could be living in a really bad situation. So is it a mind? Is it, can it, literally just be, my purpose is actually to get through today and help myself, my child, my what have you. So instead of putting so much emphasis on it being a big thing, it can be something quite small.
Yeah. I remember getting really, really depressed, and I ended up seeing a counsellor, and I have no idea what she did other than help me to decompartmentalize things, put things in boxes so it's more manageable. And I think, Donna, you're right, because each day it was do something. You know, for me, on bad days, getting out of bed was a huge achievement. And, having a shower every day when you are not well and you can barely stand up, that is massive. So even sort of doing the basics, what usually takes us 15, 20 minutes in the morning to go from being in bed to upright and ready for the day, that might take me 3 hours. But having that purpose and just those the little things. One of the benefits of living with my grandmother, she used to go and have an afternoon nap. So she'd shout up the stairs to me, she said, Wendy, I'm going for a nap. I suggest you do too. It's like permission to sleep. But yeah. And another purpose I had, one of my cousins was getting married, and I couldn't physically make their wedding cake because I used to specialize in wedding cakes. But while I'm horizontal on the floor, my occupational therapy was making the sugar flowers to decorate their cake. And after that, it was a patchwork quilt that I started age 16, and I actually finished it in my horizontal years. So yes, I had a purpose. I had things.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's looking for those things. Jihan, what about you? What came up for you with this?
What came up for me with this, I was looking at my life so far on my story, and I realized the question of purpose didn't really come up because things were very clear. Go to a good school, go to a good engineering school, get a good job in a good company, and do well there, and your life is sorted out. That's the purpose or whatsoever. So I did exactly that. But while I was in that job in corporate, there was change in the structure, and the company exited the continent. So I was in Tunisia, so exited the African continent, and it became a different structure. So all of that did not fit into the plan. The plan that I didn't even come up with. Yeah. It's like that's supposed to be there. And that was the first questioning of what do I want to do, really? And I don't think I found a good answer to that question. So I went to a coach to be coached, but apart from that, it somehow freed me from that obligation, and I just started going through life as it is, but I started avoiding what I don't want rather than going for what I want.
Yeah.
And it worked for me at that specific point of time. Even when I decided to leave the corporate world, I didn't have a plan. And when I woke up one morning and I gave up my laptop and my phone, and I have no more access to the email of corporate and all of that stuff, the surprise that I got is that I didn't miss it. And someone, my previous boss, called me and he said, so what are you doing now when you wake up? What you do? And I'm like, what? I go and have a walk on the beach and I'm doing stuff and whatsoever. So, and even when I went into coaching, what I'm doing is more following my curiosity. then specifically asking what is my purpose, because when I asked myself that question, as I said before, to be very honest, I couldn't find an answer. I'm like, maybe I don't have a purpose, and that's okay. And what I like, I don't know if you know Alan Watts, the philosopher. So he said that life is like a dance.
Oh yeah.
And the purpose of life is dancing. Yeah. That's it. You don't dance and you say, well, I want to go to that specific point. The purpose is to enjoy the dance. So for now, that's where I am. But sometimes I still need that North Star in terms of purpose to know that for me, that I'm moving on, that there is movement in whatever I'm doing. Maybe that's my purpose, being in movement. I don't know.
I like that, being in movement. Yeah, I think, it's difficult when you feel like there is no purpose, and there will be different times in your life that you may encounter this. I remember, especially when I was about 15, 16, there was no purpose. Both my parents were alcoholics. We had left the army, and we were in Civilian Street in council accommodation. There was drugs, violence. It was a horrendous place for me to be at that age. Who were leaving, working in
I'm not hearing you very well, Donna. I don't know if it's just me.
No, me too.
Okay, no, we're back. So there was no prospects. People didn't talk about college and university. There was lots of girls getting pregnant, having several children by several. And I just knew that's not what I wanted for me. So I think sometimes when you don't know what you do want, you've really got to look and be clear. What don't you want? So I left school at 16, got a job, and I ended up going off to Israel by myself for a year. And that's where the travel started. So then it was, my purpose was to experience as much as I possibly could from so many different people. Don't listen to biases, and give the children that I was nannying the love, attention, and make them feel valued and listened to and liked. So through darkness came a lot of light. So yeah, but do you feel that there's stages in your life, specific stages in your life, where you will feel that you are being shook up again, and it's just like, now what?
Oh yes, I've gone through a few of those. Yeah. So going from my horizontal time, that catapulted me into like training and becoming an NVQ assessor, and then ultimately getting back on my feet, and I went to London. That was another stepping stone to jump from London to Dubai. I came to Dubai. I had an uncle here. I knew nobody. I knew nothing. And arrived for 2 suitcases and hope. So yeah. But even sort of then working in the corporate space for lots of years, it was similar to Jihan saying that it's boundaries that kind of knock you when something's not right. Yeah, it hits your values, your boundaries, and it almost like nudges you into different directions. Yeah. So yeah, when my values were being hit and I thought, I can't do this, I left corporate thinking I can't work in that environment anymore, and then sort of stepped into the freelancer space. So yeah, but things happen, and then you get nudged in different directions.
Which is great, because you would never have been nudged if you hadn't have gone through that experience. So with every negative experience, there is a blessing to be found. It may take time. It may take a lot of time.
Yeah. But so isn't that beautiful, actually, that if life is always anyway showing us, well, whether we need how to discover our value or where we need to go afterwards, or I was going to say it always happened for a reason, and I don't even know if that's the right wording to say it. I'd love to say just it always happens, and that's it. Done.
Yeah, I believe that things happen to teach us something. So something happens for a reason. We might not be able to understand what was the reason for that to happen, but what can I learn from that that's going to help me moving forwards? So it's always, for me, it's always, what can I learn? What can I take to help me move forward and beyond this? How can I put this behind me as quickly as possible sometimes? But it's learning.
Yeah, I think that is a healthy mindset. You know, when you have a support system or where your side of mind, but I think hearing that can have negative effect on people, especially if you've gone through rape or there's a catastrophe that's gone and happened. I think if somebody turned around and said to the person who's just gone through this, you know, well, what's the blessing in this, or everything happens for a reason, I think there's a time and a place to actually say it, and it may not be that specific event. However, it may be the journey and the healing journey from that crisis. That is where all the learning takes place.
But it's also learning and accepting that it wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it is self-blaming in sort of trauma situations. So it's putting what's happened. We can't change it. It's been and gone. But what can we learn from it to be okay now? What do we need to do to take care of ourselves in the now to help us move forward? You know, how do we shut the door on that? How do we, if it's, you know, if we're going to keep going back and re-experiencing something, then, you know, we're getting into a very negative cycle. Yeah, but no, I agree with you too. Wording.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say you two, and this is why I love our discussions with Discuss and Grow and so forth, because we do talk quite a bit about the play on words, and sometimes how that can have a negative effect, or it can actually change people's thoughts about us as coaches or our reputation and stuff. So yeah, exactly. I think we've just got to be mindful of who we're talking to at that particular time, and, you know, active listening, what they're going through. And it is about, you know, what do you need?
Yeah, and matching their words and language.
Yeah.
To come in super positive and, you know, everything happens for a reason, slap. That's not what people need sometimes. It's like, you know, just hold me in a safe space so I can just offload this. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's one of the key roles. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why sometimes I love when I corrected myself and said everything happens, dot. I think that, like, lately, if I can share two things, dot and interrogation point. Like, at some point of time, I put a post-it in front of me with a dot. Just that whenever I start blah, blah, no, what happened is that, dot.
Yes.
That's it. It didn't mean this or that or whatsoever, dot. And now lately, I'm also putting the interrogation point. Like, when sometimes I'm like, this is not working. Oh, this is not working? Interrogation point. Is that true? Or even, I'm exhausted. Interrogation point. Am I? Like, I find it like sometimes like a kind of a game, dot and interrogation point, like just that,
Yeah.
two symbols, and they can work perfectly well.
And is it not working simply because it's not working, or is it not working because it's not working the way that you want it to work?
Or is it not work? It's not working. Dot. That's
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Move
Exactly.
on.
So, but sometimes people get caught up and saying, this doesn't work, this isn't working for me, but it doesn't mean it doesn't work, if that makes sense.
But that's the other thing. I mean, being an engineer, I was trained to find the cause of the problem and find what's not working to fix it. Becoming a coach is a different kind of game. It's completely different. You don't need to find, like, I sometimes talk with clients or people, even with myself, I'm like, but why am I doing that? Ha! Like, why am I not flying? Not knowing how to fly. Would that allow you to fly? It's studying the birds who are flying that allowed us to build the planes, etc. Yes, understanding there's gravity also helps, but then it's that. So it's it's not about the why, and it's a change of mindset. Not why this happened to me. Why is this happening? What does this mean about me? It's not discovering the root. I mean, it's a different context. It's not about discovering the root cause. It can be solved with some techniques, but it's really about focusing on where you want to go, what you want to be, what you can do in the future. That I find is much more helpful.
Yeah, and I would also add on there, you could put, it's not working yet, which presupposes it will, it's just not happening right now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, ladies, before we sign off, is there, or are there any tools that, you know, is in your coaching toolkit that could help bring a little bit of clarity to our listeners if they are feeling that little bit, I don't know where I am and I just need that focus and direction?
Yeah, I mean, as a coaching tool, I've used a few tools to really, go deep and explore your life purpose. But I think it's much more, checking in with yourself. Am I loving what I'm doing? Am I enjoying, the direction I'm heading? So going back to what Jihan said earlier, it's much more about enjoying the journey rather than getting so much clarity on that's the purpose, that's the destination. So yeah. And I think working with coaches has certainly helped me sort of, oh, hang on a minute, what am I doing? Am I loving what I'm doing? That's what's most important. Is it motivating me? Is it exciting? Is it worth getting out of bed for? Yeah. And also knowing when it's not ticking my boxes. Saying no to some people, saying no to some projects, just because it doesn't sit well with me. I'm not totally aligned with it. So it's having that, I'd say, self-awareness of what you're doing is lighting you up and adding sparkles in your life, or it's not.
Yes, lighting you up and sparkles. That's what we're going to take away with this. And Jihan, what's your go-to coaching tool?
Building up on what Wendy was saying, I think one beautiful thing that we can do is, so Wendy was saying, check with yourself on, are you loving what you're doing? Which means go back to your feeling and your state of being. And I will add to that, when you check yourself how you are, ask yourself, and how would I like to be? So instead maybe of asking, why am I like this and what am I not liking and how do I want to be? And one nice practice is like, so I tried this for a certain time. I'm not doing it anymore, but I'm doing it differently. Is when we wake up, we normally go and do our checklist. What am I going to do, or do it the day before? But then at the end of the day, how we check if it's a good day or a bad day, we check how we felt during the day. So in terms of KPIs, there's a mismatching. Like my targets, it's not how I measure my success of the day. So what if instead of saying this is my to-do list, start with saying, how do I want to feel today? Like, how do I want to feel today? Do I want to feel excited, curious, happy, caring, whatever? And then see that whatever you are doing or you have to do, you put that dimension of the being that you want to be in whatever you are doing. It's not whether I need to do this job or what. It's how do you want to be? Put that as an objective, as a target, and then you check your success versus something that you consciously already wanted to create.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah. Checking in how you want to feel and at the end of the day, because that is a good indication, because you could have had so many things that have gone wrong. But that one thing where, you know what, I made a difference, that person, I listened to them. And you remember that feeling, and that is when you're aligned. Oh, yes, that's how I wanted to feel by the end of the day. So, my favorite tools are, I love lists. I have lists everywhere. I have all my lists. And so I like to, again, have what don't I want and what I do want. And I then, if I don't know what I do want, I go to my I don't know. And yeah, that helps me decide where I want to be, where my focus is going to be. And like you, again, I like to check in at the end of the day. What did I accomplish? I like to have, I may write down 10 things on my list, but I only have 2 or 3 that I must do. And if I get to do the rest, that's a bonus. So, I am kind with myself, and most of the time I get through the 10, but I don't put that pressure on me to make sure I do it. So, yeah, that's my tip. Write list. Get it all down, get it out of your head, and then see how you're feeling and so forth at the end of the day. Okay, so I would just like to say, Wendy and Jihan, thank you so very, very much for sharing your experiences and life coaching tools with us. And thank you, everybody else who's watching. And if you have any comments, please pop them in. And after this has gone into the other platforms, I will reach out and answer them. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Donna.
You're welcome. Thank you.